Kyoya has been regarded as one of the strongest bladers ever. He had a wild-like personality similar to a lion and worked very hard to get to where he's at now. However, he was never able to achieve his real goal, which was defeating Gingka. I feel like there was a theme in each of his battles against Gingka and why he was not able to defeat him. Kyoya was a much more serious blader who would go through intense training to try and surpass Gingka. He once went on a cliff and fought with wolves. He also carried a coffin full of rocks through the African desert. He also faced 5 strong tornadoes with unstoppable winds, and yet none of this could stop Gingka. I had just rewatched all of his battles against Gingka, and he would lose twice and draw twice to Gingka, never defeating him. We're going to go over each match and explain the symbol that follows each one and why he could not catch up to Gingka's heights. In the first match, Kyoya was very cocky and confident against Gingka. He had led Gingka to the top of Meadow Tower, where it is very windy and he had the advantage. He still was not able to look for Pegasus in the sky, allowing Gingka to win the battle this first time by going inside the eye of the tornado and defeating Rock Leone. This would cause Kyoya to work for Doji in the Dark Nebula to defeat Gingka this time. In their second match, Kyoya had trained up even more, creating a new special move, Wild Wing Fang Dance, that created an even powerful storm to chase out Pegasus. Gingka was at the brink of defeat but had many supporters around him to give him the spirit he needed to fight back. This first showed the difference of Kyoya versus Gingka. Gingka is never battling alone. He always has someone around him to cheer him on, and this gives him the strength he needs in his fights. Kyoya lacked all of that, causing his spirit to be soothed by brute strength, but even the King of the Wild can be overtaken by strength and numbers. Gingka was also able to notice Kyoya's own bae, Leone, crying from the way Kyoya was acting at this time. Gingka would go on to win this battle, and it taught Kyoya that he was never alone in his battles. He always had Leone right by his side every time. He needed to realize that and still could not beat Gingka without a newfound resolve. In Metal Masters, Kyoya was even more stern to defeat Gingka as he decided to not join Team Japan and form his own team to take down Gingka. He would go on to Africa and train in some of the hardest parts of Africa, first carrying around a coffin full of rocks, and then he trained the Valley of Storms, taking over the 5 tornadoes that were there. This was his best chance of defeating Gingka, but they would eventually draw, as Gingka's power was still overwhelmingly as equal to his and the fight could not continue. Kyoya had worked so hard, even more, training more intensely than ever, and still could not defeat Gingka. They would also go on to fight each other in the beginning of Season 3, but that ended up as a draw when they both were getting used to their new base from the Star Fragment. There were key moments throughout the story that didn't involve Kyoya against Gingka that told me everything about this rivalry with Gingka and why he could not win. Versus Kyoya's relationship with Ryuga, it was a major concern for this. You could consider Ryuga to also be Gingka's ultimate rival, but Ryuga has managed to defeat Gingka multiple times and has also lost to Gingka. Kyoya has not been able to defeat both of them. Kyoya sees Ryuga as another rival to Gingka, but someone who is able to defeat Gingka, whereas Ryuga can see Kyoya as someone who was never able to defeat Gingka. Kyoya felt the power that Ryuga was giving off, and his relationship with Ryuga was all the more strained, as Kyoya and Ryuga's training were hardcore, and mostly spent alone. However, Ryuga would go on to reach feats that Kyoya never could. This had a big impact on Kyoya and his rivalry with Gingka, as he could not crack the code to defeating Gingka. However, Ryuga was able to. Kyoya strived for nothing else but to defeat Gingka, while Ryuga had other plans on his mind. Kyoya in the 3rd season was quite a trip. He goes with the gang for the quest of legendary bladers, but was using that as an excuse to eventually battle Gingka once again to defeat him. The legendary bladers thing was a good power up for Kyoya, but now with the 9 other great bladers out there, it made his task even harder. As soon as he goes to find the other legendary bladers, the next he meets after Gingka is Ryuga, and he is not able to defeat him. Then he was so focused on getting to the final round with Gingka and going after the Crimson Flash that he completely forgets about Aguma, and it turns out that he was the actual legendary blader. During the season, honestly, Aguma was the best rival Kyoya could have ever had. In my opinion, Aguma could be an even better rival for Kyoya than Gingka would be. Aguma challenged Kyoya on skill and mentality. He made him go overboard and find his pride once again in himself. Aguma taunted him many times and was relentless towards him. Kyoya and Aguma's ideals are far different, but led to the same goal. Kyoya wants to defeat the legendary bladers and Nemesis to fight Gingka. Aguma wants to bring back Nemesis to revive the Balin Fist. These two were huge rivals at first and had many great moments defining each character. Aguma challenges Kyoya because he is someone who talks about being alone but is always around people and in a group. He tells him that not anyone can do everything alone. He pretends to be alone but is a part of the group trying to save the world. Kyoya constantly denied these accusations as he has no plans on working together with anyone. Kyoya then ends up AWOL, going after enemies and allies, not caring who gets in the way. He felt disrespected by Aguma's comments saying he is pretending. Kyoya takes over the persona of a lion who lives alone in the wild. Their battles were huge and showed us a lot about Kyoya and just how far he wants to go to reach Gingka. The problem with Kyoya is that he spent so much time chasing Gingka while Gingka was chasing after something else. This obsession turned really bad and for no good cause. Kyoya wasn't able to truly defeat his rival, and that is something that didn't feel right with me. It felt like Kyoya should have won at least once, and his best chance was during Season 2 at the Beyblade World Tournament. Throughout all the battles I've shown today, there is a common theme with all of them, and that is the wild beast being alone. You see, Kyoya tends to be to himself, but is always around friends who support him and cheer him on. He cannot fully win because he doesn't take in that support to add to his blader spirit. Jing, on the other hand, is always counting on his friends to cheer him on and help him win. Kyoya denies all of this. It's because of this that Kyoya has failed to defeat Gingka many times and cannot get over that hump. I also think it's because of Leon's skills that makes him an ultimate weakness against Gingka's Pegasus. Kyoya would mainly use Leon for wind type attacks, and Gingka's Pegasus was able to come up with something new to that every time. He was able to ride the winds and just adapt every time, making him the victor. This was a huge disadvantage for Kyoya and made it hard for him to win due to the wind attacks that he relied so heavily on. I think Kyoya could have won a match against Gingka if he was able to create a move that could specifically counter Pegasus' wings. Looking at some of the other bladers who Gingka has lost to, one that stood out was in Season 1 when he lost to Yu. Yu's Libra had a sand style attack that was a perfect counter against Gingka, allowing him to get the victory. Gingka doesn't lose often though, and he still is the strongest blader ever, so it wouldn't be easy to take down a guy like that. Kyoya's character development throughout the series was great. It was great to see him figure out his role, but he would then abandon his friends and go back to a wild lion to fulfill his dreams. We see him even go after characters that Gingka has already defeated like Damien, and wanted to see how well he would do against them since Gingka had defeated him. I want to know your guys' thoughts on Kyoya and why you think he could not defeat Gingka, or why he could. Well, I thank you guys for watching the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll be back in the next one. Peace.